Hello everyone, thanks for stopping by at the Wasabi Aquarium channel. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to make an Iwagumi layout using dark zero stone. This aquascape will be covered in this mini-series. We'll be using the 60cm aquarium for the compilation of this layout, numbered 1 to 5 sequentially for your convenience. That way, you'll have an easy viewing of the series from start to finish. This is the second episode in the series. I'm going to assume that you've seen the previous video. If you haven't, I highly recommend that you watch episode 1 first. I think it'll just make things easier for you to understand. Sorry to trouble you. The link is in the description box below. This is because the last episode showed key design concepts on another aquarium at our store. We'll be taking those concepts and actually apply it to build this aquarium. In this episode, I'll focus on building the foundation with the substrate and then building up the stone arrangements. This build won't be a full nature aquarium, so to speak, as it will be more tilted towards a diorama aquascape. Therefore, I'll be following that concept for this build. I think this video will be very useful for those wanting to build a similar design. So, let's get started, shall we? Just a heads up that this layout will only be using aquasoil, sand, and stone. My desired layout is a lush green meadow, with the help of sand to make the colours pop. I will be aiming for the golden ratio, with mountains on the left and the right side in a triangular composition, perhaps a sand path in between. Let's continue with this aim, keeping in mind the bits and pieces of the nature aquarium style. Rightio, I'm going to start off with some random cardboard cut to size to make a borderline. I highly recommend thin cardboard, as it can easily be contoured to shape. Alternatively, you can use plastic strips. It will do the same job as cardboard. A pro tip here is to use a bit of tape to keep the borderline hold its position. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. As the last thing you want to happen is the walls to shift while you're nearly done with the aquascape. Okay, I've only taped the two front sides. If you attach tape to the rear, it'll be more difficult for you to remove later. This is what it looks like from directly above. We're going for a wider right side and a narrower left side. Don't worry too much about perfect borderlines, as this only acts as a barrier for our layout. This concept may appear to be separating into two unrelated zones. However, my choice of plans will unify the scope. As such, I would like to enhance this concept, perhaps with a sand path seen between this gap amongst the HC cuba. So despite the skeleton right now, the design in mind seems quite straightforward. I think it's necessary for a high substrate in this build. I'll be using ADA Power Sand Basic S as the base laying substrate. This should treat HC cuba well. There's another version with much more nutrients called ADA Power Sand Advanced. But since I'm using HC cuba, it isn't a nutrient demanding plant anyway. The basic S version should suffice. HC cuba will only be within the left and right borderlines, so I'll pour it in there. Another pro tip is to keep power sand only in the areas with intended growth. That is because if you put power sand high against the borderline, you risk it leaking out when you remove the cardboard later. Next, I'm going to add in some substrate additives, as per usual. This is ADA Bacter 100, Clear Super and Tourmaline BC. Bacter 100 is a dormant bacteria, and it is sprinkled in just before adding power sand. Bacteria activity improves the aquarium cycle, and it helps plants in the medium to long term. Clear Super helps promote the growth of beneficial nutrifying bacteria. It's best paired with Bacter 100. Tourmaline BC is a dust bamboo charcoal. Tourmaline BC is recommended for those who want to keep the same layout for over a year. It helps improve substrate environment. Thus, if you put it in at this stage, it will be effective and last for about a year. I think there is no need to use all three, as you'll be fine with only using these two here. Let's add them in. The prescribed amount is 3 spoons each for a 60cm aquarium. It's okay if you missed a spot the first time. Spoon a bit at a time and carefully sprinkle it in. Okay, this is what the substrate looks like after sprinkling in the additives. After putting in the 3 additives, here's what the substrate looks like close up. I'll put in Aquasoil next. I'll be using ADA Amazonia version 2 this time. This version is more stable compared to the regular Amazonia, as it doesn't have much nutrients readily available in the soil. Because of this, ADA has included Amazonia root tabs for additional nutrients. I'll add this to the top of the substrate. I'll use it a little sparingly, as this scape will only include HT Cuba. I would normally add a whole pack in an as salted planter tank, but this time I won't. I'll only use half a bag. As you can see, it's stick shaped and includes charcoal and added nutrients. It's quite solid to the touch. Okay, so let's sprinkle it in within the borderlines. I'll keep the remaining half for later use, perhaps for another aquascape. Finally, it's time to add the soil. If I can pour in the soil straight from the bag, then I will do so. But since the cardboard is taped to the front, I risk the borderline from falling. This is where the scooper comes into handy. I think it's safer to gradually add in soil anyways. I've linked this mini scooper in the description below. Please check it out later. Okay, this is what the embankment looks like so far for our layout. This is the foundation that I will gradually be building on as I arrange the hardscape. You don't have to make it so thick at the beginning. I've just used the tape measure. As of now, the thickest part of the substrate is 8 cm and it slopes down towards the front of the aquarium. And it's about 6 cm here, and so on. Please keep in mind that 23 cm is the maximum recommended substrate height for a 60 cm aquarium. Next, we'll arrange the hardscape. I will start off from the middle section here. It's going to be difficult for the first few stones, but it will gradually become more stable. I'm going to add in some stone to get some more stability. This stone should do the job for stability. I'll place it here with it leaning slightly to support the stone on the right. Okay, we're done with the first phase. This is the base structure done. I'll do some more adjustments later. Okay, I've successfully arranged the stones that make up the core layout on the right side of this aquarium. This will be the foundation for our layout. These stones will play the same role as the cardboard to keep the soil in place as we build upwards. We will next add in some more aqua soil to the back portion of the 3 stones. Okay, I'd like to add in some more stability to the slope, as it's quite inclined now. What can be done here? At this stage, the thickest part of the substrate is now measuring in at about 20 centimeters. It's gone up an additional 20 centimeters from the initial bankment. Next, let's add in the masterpiece stone. This stone will be the summit and the focal point of the golden ratio. As you can see, the stone will sink a bit as the soil is displaced. It's best to factor this in if you're going to use such a big stone. Doing so may cause a substrate avalanche and may make a mess. In this case, an avalanche will occur between these 2 stones, so I'll add a stone in here. As with everything, it's better to be safe than sorry. The soil has flowed down excessively just because there was a small gap there. I also want to stop it happening at this point too. I personally think the overall design concept looks pretty good so far. What do you think? It was a bit challenging and frustrating to arrange the stones, as avalanches kept occurring where there were gaps between the stones. Let's add in an additional stone against the glass. This stone should ensure that the soil does not continue to leak once the cardboard borders have been removed. I am confident that the stone will further prevent avalanches. As we're focusing on preventing avalanches from occurring, I'll show you what it looks like from the side shortly. If you skip this step, you will suffer later on. Prevention is key. I'm still in the process of identifying obvious gaps between the main larger stones that I may have overlooked. I'm going to fill in the gaps with little stones. And I think that should do it. I'll add in now some more soil. Okay, the mountain on the right is now complete. Some things went as expected and some didn't. I'll explain in detail about the overall design. A reminder that the concept was shown in the previous video. You may have noticed that I made some modifications to the design to be a bit chunkier around the avalanche zones. As you saw, I had to increase the number of smaller stones to stop it from happening. The point is that we've used more stones than the planned concept, such as these stones. They will work as intended, over to the side. As you can see, there's a slim stone wedged behind the front stone to stop the soil from leaking down. The right side of this layout is now complete, and I think the overall feeling is great, and I'm very glad it went very well. If you look at it from the side, it feels like the substrate was raised as expected. This is the perfect height for Aquarium's 36 cm in height, measuring in at 26 cm. A steep slope was successfully created. This is the point that withholds the majority of the soil from advancing and leaking out to the front. It's important to keep this in mind for your layout. After all, the point of the scape was to make a steep slope. I think it worked well in my favour. Yeah, the soil seen at the front was pushed out while I was adding the large stones. It leaked out quite a bit because the tape gave way, allowing the cardboard to shift, but it's still within the expected range. Not to worry, this won't be much of a problem for me anyway, as I'm planning to have some soil at the front. This is better than future soil leakage. As such, I would like to take various approaches, such as reducing leakage points. I've had fun. Well, if everything goes to plan, it's less fun, right? In my case, the front leakage is really minor. I admit my borderline sort of failed. Expect the unexpected, so they say. I end this video with only the right side complete. Stay tuned for the next episode to see the left side. A reminder that the right side is golden ratio, therefore left side height will be lower. It's going to turn out beautiful. The left side will be slightly easier. If you want to make a very tall mountain, please follow this tutorial. As long as you take measures preventing the avalanches, you'll be fine. So, how was the video? We spoke about how to successfully create a sloped aquascape. I explained in detail the process of creating it. The most important thing is your overall design. Since I went so steep up, the degree of difficulty was evident. I hope this video helps you, and that you too can build a very similar layout. As you saw, things didn't go all according to plan, and I showed you some good workarounds. So please keep this in mind when you create your next aquascape. Overall, I think things turned out good. I will show you how to complete this narrow portion later in the series. I will also explain my recovery methods for these troubled areas later in the series. At this stage, I think there will be 3 to 6 episodes in the series. I hope you can view them in sequence. Please remember to click on a notification bell icon for the next episode on my channel. By doing so, you'll be notified on YouTube when a new video is posted. If you have any questions about this layout, please feel free to post it below. Common questions will be answered in future videos. We will try our best to answer your questions by our moderator, Nori Aqua. If you found this video useful, I'll gladly appreciate it if you like, share and subscribe to our channel. See you in episode 3. Thank you for watching.